Joining me now is my good friend and good friend of the show, Kris Sims from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Far too long since you've been on the show. Kris, how's it going?
Oh, excellent. I just got back from a quick road trip up to your neck of the woods near Edmonton. And then we stopped by in Red Deer, talked to the good folks there, and into Drumheller. And we were promoting the fact that Alberta has got the lowest gas taxes in all of Canada. Thank you very much, Premier Daniel Smith. And we want to see it stay that way. We save 13 cents per liter of gasoline and diesel. That saves you about $15 if you're driving a light-duty pickup truck, and that's nothing to sneeze at. I can get a roast chicken and a jug of milk for that. So we're really happy to see that. Interestingly, we're also putting pressure next door on our neighbor, Premier Scott Moe of Saskatchewan. He hasn't cut his provincial gas tax at all. And we've seen an example here in Alberta all this time. So we're urging Premier Moe to cut taxes like a girl.
No, that's great. No, you actually found the lowest gas in the province, and it's in Drumheller, which is fun because that's kind of a road trip destination. So it's great to have the gas be the lowest at your summer road trip.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that, actually. So I left Edmonton that morning. It was about $1.44, $1.45. And then I hit Red Deer. It was around $1.42. Come around the corner into Drumheller, which is just an amazing place. If anybody hasn't been there, it's special. As a nerd who grew up loving dinosaurs and history her whole life, you come around the corner, you can see the KT line, like where the world changed. So you come around the corner, and after you're finished gawping at all the fossils, look up at the gas station price, and it was like $1.35. So that was the lowest I had found, which was super impressive. And again, that's money back into people's pockets. Like you said, that's a destination for a lot of people, especially families in Western Canada. My son was counting all the different license plates from out of province, and there were tons of them from BC, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, even a couple from Ontario. And so it was really good to see a really low gas price and obviously the lowest gas taxes in all of Canada right there in Drum.
Now, it's interesting, too, because, we can compare ourselves here in Alberta, as you point out, to our friends in Saskatchewan, but also to our friends in BC. They've had a carbon tax forever, and their emissions are not going down. The federal Liberals have reliably told me that the more you pay in carbon taxes, the fewer forest fires you'll have, and yet that doesn't seem to be the case in BC. What's the impact of these ever-increasing taxes on the poor people who live in BC right now?
I'm really glad you asked me that for a lot of reasons. One, I was born and raised in rural British Columbia. So outside of the GVRD, I was raised in Hope. My husband's from the interior and up north. And so very similar, I would say, in kind of outlook, temperament, independence, resilience as Albertans or other Western Canadians. And they don't deserve this kind of carbon tax punishment that they're getting. British Columbia's cost of living is unaffordable for most average normal people. Unless you've got some way of, either living with your parents who are really well-to-do, or you managed to get into the housing market just before it went bananas. A lot of people there are struggling. So much so, Sheila, that when people are buying a house now, having a suite that is rented out automatically is just part of the feature. Like, they just consider that a normal thing. As a two-person couple working professional family, that you will have a stranger renting out your basement is just par for the course. That was unthinkable when I was a kid. And so the carbon tax plays a big factor into that. Not so much into housing, obviously, but into the day-to-day affordability. And so they've had a carbon tax, like you said, since 2008. The BC Liberal government of Premier Gordon Campbell at the time brought in a carbon tax into British Columbia. And this is what's key. They sold people on a carbon tax saying that it would do many things. They said that it was going to be revenue neutral. They said it was going to stop at $30 a ton. They said that it was going to create a plethora of affordable alternative energy sources that people could just tap right into. And they said it was going to make emissions go down. Today, none of that is true. Not one thing is true from that. So it's, as we know, $65 per ton, which is now the mandatory minimum imposed by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. But BC would do it on their own anyway, because they just love the carbon tax there. Emissions keep on going up, and alternative affordable energy sources are really scarce for most working people. On the emissions element, this is it. Remember how I mentioned the affordability and the scarcity of that alternative energy? That's why emissions keep going up. Because people can't switch. It's not like they're standing in a grocery line and they can pick paper or plastic bags. Most people, once they're beaten into a financial corner the way they have been in BC, would have switched by now. But there's nowhere for them to go. So they have to keep driving to work, they have to keep eating food, and they have to keep heating their home. So they just pay. They pay and pay and pay. They get a second job. They take out that third line of credit. They borrow money from their parents. They do whatever. They bring in a renter. They just go deeper into debt. And so this is why an economist would call this an inelastic demand for energy. This is why you've got emissions going up in BC, along with the carbon tax going up in BC. And as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said years ago in French on Tout le monde parle, and as the Parliamentary Budget Officer has said, even if Canada stopped everything tomorrow, like the whole country, we all just went and hid in a cave, stop eating, stop heating, it wouldn't make a dent in global emissions. So if your issue is emissions, it's not making a dent. Even if you just taxed people into oblivion and made them not be able to afford any energy, it wouldn't make a dent. So this is where it's really frustrating. We've seen a severe financial punishment of Canadians that started in BC. It became a trend across Canada. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is using it as a template, and we're not seeing any environmental gain.
Oh, hey, what you just saw there is a clip from my weekly full-length show, The Gunn Show. It airs on Wednesday, but this is the internet. You can watch it whenever you feel like. You just have to become a subscriber to our paywalled premium content. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com to become a member today.